The next article I wanted to talk about is actually about the Moonies, the Unification Church. I don't know how much you guys know about the Moonies, but if you know who Stephen Hassan is, he wrote the Bite Model. He wrote the book Combating Cult Mind Control, and he has advanced the field of cult research a lot over the past 30 years, longer even, 35, 40 years maybe he's been doing this. And he came from the Moonies. He was in the Moonies, the Unification Church, in the 70s, I think, like for a few years in the 70s, and it completely twisted his life around. And after exiting the church, that's when he wrote his groundbreaking books and his models about how cults work and all of that other stuff. So I wanted to talk about who the Moonies are and why they're important. And at the end, after we finish reading this article, we're going to watch a clip from Mike Pence that's relevant to this situation. So let's read a little bit about the Moonies on the Freedom of Mind website, which is Stephen Hassan's website. I believe the leader's name is Hyungjin Moon. It's the wife of Sun Myung Moon, who founded the Unification Church. And it is the definition of a cult. They go by Moonies, and they wore that name with pride as a badge of honor in the 70s, I think, in the 80s. But now they consider it to be a pejorative. They've tried to kind of rebrand. They don't like the name. They would rather you call them the Unification Movement or the Unification Church now. They're known as the Moonies, and I'm not using it as a pejorative. I'm just trying to identify them. So let's read this description on the website. This group is a multi-billion-dollar conglomerate which seeks to establish a one-world theocratic government run by Sun Myung Moon, the presumed new messiah. Of course, he died not long ago. It has a wide variety of front groups: religious fronts, political fronts, media fronts, social and cultural fronts, recruiting fronts, educational fronts, and business fronts. You'll also find a lot of recruiters at college campuses for the Unification Church. They are all fucking over the place. I hadn't actually heard about this group until I started researching Stephen Hassan, but they are widespread. The Moon Organization has a long and documented history of controversy, which includes systematic deception, separating new members from their families and friends, intensive mind control indoctrination, and shady business and political dealings. Despite its wealth and power, it's interesting to note that burdensome members are sometimes discarded penniless after long years of dedication and service. These people were promised that they would be taken care of for the rest of their life, but when illness or misfortune strikes, they are often instructed to fend for themselves. Here's the history of the organization. This group was founded in 1954 by North Korean Sun Myung Moon, who claims that Jesus came to him when he was 16 and asked him to fulfill his mission on Earth. In reality, information is now coming forth from Korea and Japan which show that Moon himself was involved with two cult-like groups and split off and stole much of the other group's teachings. According to one of Moon's earliest disciples, Moon was involved with a Mr. Young Do Lee, group name is unknown, and Mr. Baek Moon Kim of the Monastery of Israel when in South Korea. It's claimed that Moon took much of his teaching, the divine principle, from Mr. Kim's books, The Theology of Spirituality and Basic Principles. Kim's writings included the principles of creation, the fall, and restoration. It was only after the 1961 coup of Park Chung-hee that the CIA helped to set up the KCIA, the Korean Central Intelligence Agency, I believe. Colonel Bo Hee-pak was the CIA KCIA liaison man in the Washington embassy of the South Korean government and is Moon's chief translator and right-hand man, on the board of many of the multi-million-dollar operations. It's an extremely powerful organization, and they do their best to wield political power. They want to wield political power, a lot like Scientology. They want to have people in control in the White House and in other government institutions. Not just the U.S., but other governments too. It originated in Korea. It is a Korean cult, and that's really where it's based, but they have a large presence in the United States, and they have gotten very involved in politics in the U.S. During Richard Nixon's whole impeachment situation, they actually held a hunger strike, the Moonies did. They held a hunger strike to show support of Richard Nixon, which, as we know, turned out to be a monster. That aside, these people get heavily involved in politics and have a lot of political power. So why is all of this relevant? Well, our good friend Mike Pence decided to speak at like a Moonies event, if you will. Remember, the Moonies are also known as the Unification Church. That's their official name. That's what they prefer to go by now. So listen to what Mike Pence said at the Unification Church event.
Distinguished leaders, ladies and gentlemen, I'm honored to address you at this global rally of hope, sponsored by the Universal Peace Federation.
The Universal Peace Federation. This goes multiple layers deep. What's the Universal Peace Federation? The Universal Peace Foundation is linked to the Moonies somehow, but I'm not exactly sure how. They do have a website, so I decided to go to the website out of curiosity and see what it has to say. This is their website. Universal Peace Foundation. It looks to me like it's a wooey kind of spiritualist meditation guru kind of thing. And they have like online classes and naturopathy and stuff like that on here. Online yoga class, weekdays, Monday to Friday. 1 minute silence at 11:11 a.m. for global peace. It's just a really fucking strange organization. Very, very strange organization. I don't know if the Global Peace Foundation is a nonprofit or not, but it is a religious organization either way. And I don't believe that Mike Pence should be endorsing them. I don't think anybody should, honestly. But let's keep listening to Pence and see what else he said at this rally.
And join you in the great cause of building a more peaceful and prosperous world. The Bible says, "Blessed are the peacemakers." And I believe this gathering of leaders from nations across the world, leaders who cherish the values of faith, family, democracy, and justice under the rule of law will be a blessing.
Okay, so Mike Pence, what he's saying here, he's talking about leaders from nations across the world. He's talking about the leaders of these cults. He's talking about, like, Sun Myung Moon's wife, the current leader of the Moonies, Hyung Jin Moon. That's who he's talking about, those types of people. And another interesting note, they're really into spiritualism and naturopathy and yoga and shit, but it is still a biblical Christian cult.
This gathering of leaders from nations across the world, leaders who cherish the values of faith, family, democracy, and justice under the rule of law will be a blessing to people in Korea, the Indo-Pacific, and the wider world. And I'm also grateful to the Washington Times.
Washington Times is an extreme far right-wing news outlet, not to be confused with the Washington Post, which is different. Washington Times is no better than the Federalist or the Epoch Times or the Daily Wire or any far-right extreme news reporting agencies, quote-unquote, if you can even call them that. So Washington Times is not a model of fair and accurate reporting. FYI.
And I'm also grateful to the Washington Times, a model of fair and accurate reporting that American decision makers have relied on for nearly 40 years.
No.
I especially want to thank Dr. Moon for hosting this important event and for faithfully devoting her life to the pursuit of peace, and also extend my warmest wishes as she celebrates the birthday she shares with her late husband.
Sun Myung Moon is her late husband, I believe, and he's the one that founded the church. She is the leader.
Thank you, Dr. Moon, for living out your life's calling with compassion and grace.
How fucking strange. Mike Pence is like almost picking up the cadences, the speaking style of the leaders of this cult. I wonder if he did that intentionally when he went there, knowing that he wanted to appeal to these people and he wanted their political support. There was a point in time when these people had so much political power that presidents would try to appease them. Presidents would want them to lobby with them so that they could, vote the way that they wanted to and expect the Moonies to vote for the president when he was holding his political campaigns. That's how it works. This organization is fucking scary. And the fact that Mike Pence is out here giving this bizarre plastic talk in front of all these people. I don't know, man. There's just something real fucking disturbing about it. I really hope Mike Pence doesn't find his way to political power again. It was bad enough having him with his monstrous beliefs about the LGBT community and about other groups. It's bad enough having him in as vice president for 4 years. I don't want him in any position of power again. Certainly not when he's trying to work with organizations like the Moonies, a straight-up cult. The biggest Chung guy, do you think Pence will break rank with Trump? And if so, do you think he could win, considering he's only popular with evangelicals and extremists? Interesting question. I think he is breaking rank with Trump, yes. I don't think he's going to come out and denounce Trump, probably, any more than he already has, after the January 6th riots. He didn't really come out and denounce Trump, but he did denounce the January 6th riots. I think that's as far as it's going to go. But Trump denounced Pence on January 6th. Trump came out and said, Pence has betrayed us and blah, blah, blah. And they put fucking gallows up at the Capitol screaming for Mike Pence's head. That's pretty fucking scary. Trump denounced Pence, and that was it. Pence's career as a politician probably ended there. Unless the Republican Party can shake off Trump. If they can shake him off, Pence might have a chance. But I'm guessing they can't. I think that they're embracing Trump even further, and they're going to keep him as a key player in the Republican Party from here on, because they know Trump could split the party right down the middle and fuck them forever. They could never win another election if Trump created his own political party. So the only other option, if the Republicans want to survive as a party, is to embrace Trump. That's it. There's no other choice. And even that's a bad choice, because embracing Trump means they're going to lose more voters who hate Trump. Rightfully so. So if things go the way I believe they're going to go, which is Trump is probably going to be embraced by the Republican Party, Pence is probably out of a job for the rest of his life. And in my opinion, that'll be too soon.